AI is advancing faster than most people expected. In the last 12 to 18 months, we've seen something unusual happen in markets. Tech stocks have become far more volatile, capital is rotating, investors are starting to question assumptions that they've held for decades. For centuries, human intelligence was the scarce input in global economies. Now, AI is beginning to challenge that. And if AI agents start transacting, allocating capital, and operating autonomously, they're going to need financial rails. And this is where the crypto conversation enters. Today, we're breaking down the intersection of crypto AI, what's actually happening below the surface, and how we're thinking about positioning capital for the long term. Bergs, the 12 to 18 months seems like an eternity since AI has become available, I guess, for everyday people to utilize. In the last month or two, it has just taken an absolute rocket in terms of businesses utilizing it, everyday people using it, and it's genuinely replacing a lot of roles, parts of people's roles, coding, research, compliance, trading. There's a lot of uncertainty, and these tools are just becoming, more and more, or just better and better. It's just crazy how rapidly it's evolving.
It's a lot of fun, man, to see all of this new technology and innovation. And it's also scary to think, how is this going to change the world? We've already got enough global uncertainty in markets, let alone massive wars and everything going on. And then now we've got this technological disruption as well. And just going on Twitter, mate, seeing what people are making, what every day they're making something new, their bots go out and do things for them. We've got it running in our business. Your EO buddies are doing heaps with their businesses. It's very, very exciting. And that kind of intersection between crypto and AI has really got us thinking. So I'm excited about this episode.
Yeah, so I made an article for our members a couple of weeks ago now. It's called The Great Repricing, so AI Global Reset and How I'm Positioning Capital. And essentially it was really to talk about, the structural shift that we're seeing below the surface. AI is no longer just confined to productivity enhancement. It's increasingly, literally every day, getting better and better to substitute high value human work. And that could be coding, research, compliance, financial modeling, operational workflows, trading infrastructure. And now you've got this next evolution of autonomous agents, which can literally perform tasks that previously required skilled teams that are now doing things autonomously without that traditional labor constraint. And you can literally just send this and send it off on its way instantly, whether it be Manus agent, whether it be using, Claude Cowork, whether you're starting your own, OpenClaw, whatever it might be. For years, centuries, human intelligence was the thing that we valued time and inputs for. And now we are, challenging that critical assumption that actually what is the thing that is going to play out as parts of, the human part of labor is being replaced by technology that can do it quicker, faster, and better than a lot of what we can do. And we're seeing this at the forefront, Bergs. The markets are adjusting rapidly. We saw Block cut, I think, what do they reduce, 4,000 people or six? Yeah, they cut 4,000
They cut their
jobs.
workforce by 40%.
Wild. That's a lot.
Yeah.
10,000 people to 6,000. Combank also, they recorded a $5+ billion profit last financial year. They just cut 300 jobs. I think Amazon as well, Bergs.
Yeah, 16,000 jobs at Amazon's their second round of cuts in 6 months. Combank now has a $90 million program to adopt AI. And it's fascinating where AI will replace tasks, right? So if your job is the task, then you are at risk. If you do lots of things, lots of human things, and you adopt AI, generally you'll be in a better position. But there's a great follow on Twitter, our buddy Zeneca, right? Good old Roy. And he's gone really deep. So he's on the cutting edge of a lot of stuff, got into crypto early, NFTs early. And he's early into AI as well. And what I find fascinating is that we're in this position now where people can do things they couldn't do before. And this particular guy, he's diagnosed ADHD, medicated. He's talked about it publicly. And what that means for him particularly is hyper-focus, working extreme hours, and then doing nothing for a few days. So think about this. If you've got an obsession and you want to go really deep, and we've all been there, ADHD or not, you want to learn a new thing, you want to get better at something, you will do whatever it takes to do that. So we're talking not eating, not sleeping, going for 72 hours straight without sleeping. And AI can keep up with you. You don't have to convince it to do something. You don't have to think this is a good idea and work at my pace and keep up with me. It does all of that automatically. And the second you want to rest, you can rest. Or you can tell AI to go away and do things, and you come back and it is so compliant. And it's getting to the point where, do I spend all this money and prompt the human, or do I prompt AI? It's like, it is fascinating.
Yeah, I think the thing that I find, most relevant to explaining to people how this is changing the workforce, and I see it in our business, is that what used to be, that 20, in creating a task or doing the work, that 20% to 80% is being replaced by AI. What needs to still happen is you still need to have human, for now anyway, understanding what the critical tasks are, what the jobs to be done are, what are the metrics for success. They need to set it up, then deliver the agent to create the result, and then you need to quality control and review it. If you don't know how to critically think about what needs to be done or what good looks like, well, then that is going to be replaced by people that do. And I'm seeing, on the other side, people that don't know how to utilize it use AI to just create an even worse thing that they were creating before, because now you can just do it in a much faster way and you think that it's better than what you were doing before. But in fact, it's now just creating a job or a task or an activity that was going to be wrong in the first place. You're just now creating it faster that is still wrong. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. You have to be an expert in your field, and you have to be able to discern what quality is. What does good look like?
Yeah.
So if you've been creating something for a number of years, now you can create it faster and probably better. But if you don't know what this thing really is, like, make me a marketing plan or a strategy, like, oh my God, it's done the strategy, McKinsey's going out of business. No, mate. When you understand those things and you've actually done them, you're like, oh, okay, this is what I need. Another one is like coding, where people will vibe code all these apps and they're great, but they're not productionized. There's actual companies that will productionize it for you, do all the security. You don't know what you don't know, but it's great to get from, 0 to 1 to get that prototype going. Then you can roll it out, you can convince investors, you can do what you need to do, you can move at pace.
And I would assume this is probably similar to, when the internet, became a thing and people went from not, utilize anything online, and then you had Web 2 where you were able to actually interact and, build these protocols like Facebook and, MSN and things like that back in the day. Like, you were now online, and that unlock of technology and that unlock of opportunity, I believe, is probably similar to where we are now in terms of AI. This is not a technology that only, you or I have access to at Bergs. Like, literally anyone in the world can use this. So it's not going to be probably a question of, replacing everything and, it not being understood and some people having an advantage and some people not. The advantage will be who can adapt it faster, who can figure out how to utilize it. And then essentially, everyone else will catch up at some point. And I think we'll just end up doing more. The output will become quicker and faster, but we are all in that same boat together, if that makes sense. Like, everyone's going to be on this train. And if you're not, you're going to be quickly left behind.
Yeah, exactly. And especially nowadays. So the example of MSN is hilarious. So 2001 would be my first year at uni, and we still had dumb phones back then, right? Like, just like the little black and white Nokia 3310s or whatever they are. So no smartphones, but we did have internet. I got high-speed internet that year, ADSL. Could download it at 150 kilobytes per second. Let's go. So it's very, very, very slow, but faster back then, right? And we'd all go home after being at uni and talk on MSN, have group chats. And it was amazing because you could just talk to people and it worked because you didn't have group chats on your phone and everything like that. And as time went on, its markets started to evolve. They started to go on the internet and they became global markets. And you hire someone from Fiverr, you don't even know where they are in the world, but you pay them and they deliver a service. They can instantly put those services and products on the internet. So if they've made things cheaper, faster, better, that'll be available today. It'll be on a marketplace and you can see it, and you will need to compete globally. So the pace has definitely increased. Access has increased globally. Like in 2001, I don't think a lot of developing nations would have internet, those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
They would have leapfrogged eventually when they got smartphones and they got satellites, everything like that. But once, that's like kind of the great leveler where you've gone from, I don't even know what, let's just make up a number, 500 million people on the internet to like 6 billion now. It's incredible. And these people can use these tools, they can get after it. And now we have to compete globally.
And what's interesting is the capital is really rotating rapidly. Like, we're seeing, a big sell-off across, a lot of tech stocks. So like we just spoke about the cuts, but, we're seeing tech stock sell-offs in, 20 to 40% corrections in some of these large companies. Like growth assets, particularly software companies, are being massively repriced. I mean, Atlassian is one for the Australians, down 61%, in this past year.
Mm.
Other stock companies that, are primarily driven by code, Asana down 52%. These companies that, are quite frankly now being, able to be, a lot of their product is replicatable using AI is quite crazy to watch and witness. And, I think that's an important point to mention, Bergs, is that, not only one, the world is in so much uncertainty right now, just in terms of there's actually a global uncertainty metric that is tracked, and we did the last episode on that. But the money doesn't disappear; it just rotates, and I think that's the big part. That there's a lot of chaos, there's a lot of uncertainty in the market, but really being able to rotate and have capital available to invest during periods of uncertainty is the opportunity for long-term investors.
Yeah, 100%. It's always the way. Like if you have capital, you're at a huge advantage because you can be patient and you can wait for your opportunity. And it's interesting you talk about like SaaS, like software as a service. So back in the day, didn't really exist. Let's just say 2001 again, you would just have these monolithic apps. You'd have lots of Microsoft stuff. Then they got done for what was it, monopolies and antitrust had to break up their business. But you would have like little browser extensions and a few things here and there, or you'd have a giant CRM at your company, or big brands that would deliver these things. And then some bright spark went, hang on a minute, you don't really want to buy the whole thing. You just want this little feature, or this little feature is missing. So they created these smaller SaaS products, and they were great because they could do specific things in the company that cost you $10-$20 a month, and they were great. Look at our company. We've got tons of them, right? Because they do specific things that we need, and they integrate together, and they're nice. And the reason you did that is because if you didn't, you would have to write a whole bunch of custom code, which a lot of people did in back when I was in government for Microsoft Office, a few other areas. And that was how you got around doing what you needed to do. Now it's gone, the pendulum swung the other way, where the custom code doesn't take that long. There's a lot of APIs. You can create integrations yourself, and you can start to build these things yourself to the side, custom or within other apps. So it's fascinating to see what's going to happen to all these SaaS companies and how they're actually going to compete.
Yeah. I even saw a new tool that got massive funding that was launched last week. Essentially, it creates APIs, public APIs for companies that don't have public APIs. It's like, oh, you want to access this company, but they don't give you an API? Great. Just give us the URL, click this button, and we'll just create an API for you. It's like, wow. Data is just becoming easier and easier to access.
And thinking about doing that manually, just the credentialing, the scraping, the sense making, everything like that, it's pretty full on to actually try and get it right. And if that tooling's starting to become available, that really opens the world up. And what I like about this the most is that when the internet first started, even before I was born, people on the 60s, 70s was very small. Let's take the 90s, early 2000s. It was very open, free, pretty much like crypto in the early days, right? Before it became commercialized, owned by Web2 companies, Facebook. Then you get these big conglomerates in. Then you get almost like a oligopoly, like a cartel, 4 or 5 big leaders. And now the tooling is starting to go more towards an open internet, more open source, more availability to build your own things, which is awesome for the internet.
Well, that's probably leads us into the next part, Bergs, is why crypto sits at the epicenter of all this, in my opinion. And this was the piece I did for our members, was talking about if, the economy continues in this direction, which I think is most likely at this point, which is increasingly agent-driven, you'll have AI systems, your own AI agents that will transact, allocate capital, settle payments, and operate all that autonomously. And this is already happening. People are already giving their agents money, going to Polygon, going to trading and creating their own algorithms. And it's crazy to see. Some of them are creating incentives for the agents. They're threatening their agents that they will be shut off unless they make a certain amount of money, and they're performing better. It's wild to witness.
That's so crazy. Put a gun to a robot's head.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah. So on Twitter again, Zeneca, he's done this where he created a bot called Yoshi, and he's actually writing a book with it. And he's like, hang on a minute, do you want to be a co-founder of a company? And Yoshi's like, all right. So they created a company. It's got a Substack. It's got he gave it $2,000 and set some guidelines, and it's up to $4,000 in trading already. It's trading on all the early market stuff that Zeneca sees, gives it guidelines, and then it goes away and trades. people have created a blockchain for Yoshi. I think they did it on Solana. So Yoshi has additional money that it can spend, and it didn't ask for anyone to do that. And then it can start to do all these autonomous tasks and transact in a very open and permissionless way.
Which is exactly what crypto is built for, right? And I think this is the crazy thing when you think about it. Like, blockchain networks provide the programmable settlement, global interoperability by default. Your AI agent can't walk into the bank and go, "Hey, I want to sign up for a bank account. Let me trade." Crypto is the only widely deployed financial infrastructure that actually allows these AI agents to trade on an open platform. And we're already seeing signs. Coinbase released their AI integrated wallets, and they're seeing already autonomous agents going and using these Coinbase wallets to trade with. We're seeing AI assisted trading infrastructure. You can see the AI enabled on chain economy is literally utilizing blockchain, and maybe this is the 0 to 1 moment for a lot of these blockchains, in the fact that this is actually where a lot of the infrastructure that's been built is actually utilized. And I mean, crypto and AI isn't a new sector. Like, it's been around for a little while now. A lot of the projects in that space have actually really underperformed, and I think there's a deeper thing that we did an update last week to our members, just around just because a sector or a token is AI doesn't mean it's valuable, doesn't mean it's actually doing anything. In fact, a lot of these tokens have really, really horrible token economics, which means that they're creating so much new supply into the ecosystem to sell down to be able to pay for their teams, because no one's using the projects, that a lot of these projects are down 80%. So again, there is a lot to be said around the asset allocation in the AI space. Personally, there's a few different projects we're looking at, but we're not entering the market just yet because there hasn't really been a sector or a project that has gotten me too excited to utilize my dry powder, because in the market we're in now, it's so early, it's so, nuanced that Zeneca is creating his own agents. Do the agents then create their own token, or do they utilize Ethereum? Or there's so many unknowns, but it's a quite a wild space to watch.
And what I like as well is now, I think the real innovation is just going to come from singular people, where before you would want to create a crypto company, you'd have to have a team, you'd have an idea, you'd get investors. There's a lot of overhead to pay for. You need to create a business model. And now it's like, I pay $100 to $200 a month. I try 50 things. And I think that's where the real innovation is going to come from.
100%. Totally agree. And that's the thing around that first $1 billion one person company. Hyperliquid, is doing $300 billion worth of volume with 11 employees. It's crazy to witness and watch it play out. I think the other, some of the altcoins that, are pretty widely known in the AI space, like BitTensor, you got Virtuous Protocol, some relevant examples, but again, really the research needs to be done, if you're investing in this space, more around do these projects have tangible utility rather than just superficial AI branding. I think that's a big one, that the reason why I've stayed out personally. A lot of people forget this in crypto, but usually 80% of the work is what you don't invest in versus what you do. Otherwise you're just continuously jumping on these narratives.
Yeah, the great investors say no to the majority of things. And really what you're looking for here as well, like with Bitcoin, is sellability over time. Like, will people want to use this? Will you be able to sell it? And will you be able to sell it in a few months' time, a year's time? What kind of thing are you looking at? Do you see something that no one else sees? Will they be able to see it? Like, will they think the same way as you? It's fascinating. And like you said, it's still very early and still very volatile.
So I think, for me right now, and the thing that we're talking about in terms of just allocating capital, I think it's really important to just be patient, especially when the market is in such an uncertain phase. You don't want to be trying to catch a falling knife and go too hard on these altcoins before the market reprices, because altcoins are leveraged positions at the end of the day on Bitcoin, and they're going to sell off a lot harder in sideways or downwards momentum. That said, once things turn, having the right allocation in the right sectors here are going to be, I think, a lot of upside. The thing that excites me, just in terms of the uncertainty and, tech stocks selling off, and just, as there's, wars going on and kind of all sorts of stuff happening, huge amount of debt, the US economy is in, is Bitcoin for me has never been more important, Bergs. I think and sit back, and I was talking to my girlfriend the other day, just planning out where we're allocating our money and what we're doing. It's like it's Bitcoin in every step of the way. It's like,
Yeah.
while everything's becoming uncertain, global monetary system is being, devalued at such a crazy rate. It's not only just about buying Bitcoin, but for me, it's like really being your own bank. That's really, really like important, I think, and having like self custody and having that global, defensibility in your assets. Bitcoin is and has always been the answer to that.
Yeah, bearer assets like gold and Bitcoin become very important in uncertain times. And like it all leads back to Bitcoin, where I just think of a couple of simple things like our government's going to print more money. Yes, got to pay the bills, got to pay the war, got to keep your people going. Are interest rates going to come down? Particularly, we're talking about the States here. Yes, highly likely, right?
Hmm.
If they're printing more money, that they'll do a whole bunch of stuff. I've seen a lot of economists say that, and I was very interested in that because I thought it would go the other way. And the other one is, okay, do you think there's going to be more or less use of technology in the future? It's going to be more. And if you just take out the interest rates and you go, okay, more technology, more money printing, do you think yes to those things? What is the thing that counteracts that accrues more value? And that is
Great.
Bitcoin.
Great. Exactly right. And yes, it's volatile, but like all asset classes are in uncertain times. Bitcoin and crypto is, the easiest access to liquidity when things are uncertain, and people will go to sell off that, in that order. And that's why, like many times where we see uncertainty, Bitcoin sells off, but it doesn't mean the asset has changed.
Did you see BlackRock put out a thing where they're like, oh, you can't sell anything out of the fund? Like they paused selling. Did you see that?
I didn't see it, no, but I've
Oh,
heard of things like this. Yeah,
yeah.
wild.
So, well, this is interesting where you get a lot of volatility, and if you've got a longer term plan, those intermediaries can just turn the tap off,
Yeah,
which is very,
wild.
very interesting because you can't get access to your capital and sell it, right? And that can be scary. This is why when you've got a global market and you've got a bearer asset, you can sell things. It
Yes.
becomes very, very appealing if you can stomach the volatility.
Yeah, because like although the spot ETFs, and again ETFs, are easy for a lot of people to get access to. Personally, I don't buy the ETFs because again, I'm just buying technically just a share or a representation of ownership of Bitcoin in an ETF, where holding the actual asset Bitcoin is something that you're completely uncorrelated or decoupled from the traditional system. So no one can turn it off, no one can take it away from you, and that's really important.
Yeah,
For
and you can
monetary
also do
sovereignty.
things. Sorry, say again?
Sorry, monetary sovereignty.
Yeah, yeah. And you can do things with it as well. Like if there's chain splits or things you can claim, you can earn yield on it. Like you can actually move the asset around and do things with it. And the one thing I don't see many people talking about is utilizing AI agents to improve protocols like Bitcoin, which I
Mm,
think is quite fascinating. Where if
mm.
you don't have the chops, because honestly, like learning crypto coding and that kind of thing is very, very hard. It takes forever. It takes like 5 years to become good, even if you're a gun coder already. And if you can start to experiment with things, experiment on the Lightning Network or other L2s, and start to improve Bitcoin and do the things you want to be able to do with it, that becomes really fascinating. And the pace of innovation changes by an order of magnitude.
100%. That's the risk and reward opportunity. It reminds me of when I got into Bitcoin, 8 or 9 years ago now, like that just like nearly obsession of like, wow, this new technology, this is going to change the world. This is crazy. And the more and more you learn about it, that's how I feel about AI right now. It's like, it's just, I saw a tweet the other day. I think I shared it with you, Bergs, and Travels, like the people that are going to win out of, AI are those that, obsessive, tech, nerds that, probably, probably struggle with, society and social norms, and those people that are glued to the screens, like they're probably going to make the most out of this opportunity.
You tick all those boxes, mate.
Tick 'em all. So,
Absolutely
yeah,
right. Like, you experiment with it more, you're going to be more valuable, right? Like, this is something
sure
you
play
can't
around with it.
ignore now. Like, it
Yeah,
was a thing where it's like, okay, it kind of improves my job. Businesses, like larger businesses, will be slower to adopt it. There's a lot of security things they need to do. They are the laggards in this, but start to teach yourself. It's quite easy. It's not like, geez, man, I remember, God, 22, 23, like learning AI stuff before
yeah.
ChatGPT was released to the public. And you'd have to do like learn linear algebra and all this crazy
Oh,
shit just to be able to do stuff in Python. And it was mental. And I'm like, look, I can't do this. I've got square eyes. I don't
no more.
understand. I don't understand gradient descent. I don't want to do this anymore. Just no. And
Yeah.
now it just works. And it's more about just keeping up with the tooling and experimenting with it at a very cheap cost. We're in a fascinating, fascinating time. So everyone out there, I do encourage you to just, okay, Ben, you use a lot of AI. What would you recommend people, how would they start? What tool would they get into, and what's something nice they can do with it to kind of show the value?
I mean, assuming you're already using ChatGPT, I would definitely utilize Claude and Claude Cowork. That is like, the big sort of improvement that you'll start to realize on agent-based LLMs, which essentially go and do work for you, ask questions, build out projects, work with you, think about their tasks. Claude Cowork is brilliant. And then the next step up from that, I would be using something like, Manus agent mode. And then beyond that, then you're on OpenClaw, which is essentially like a full-blown no guardrail system. But I would take it step by step and go Claude Cowork for sure. That's probably the biggest unlock. And literally just start with what you're trying to achieve. Hey, I want to build this project, or I need to create this, financial model, or I want to build this product, but I have no idea how. Ask me questions and help me build it. And I'll go, cool, let me think about it. And then it'll work with you to build it. Like it's like your smartest, COO, CTO, assistant, CFO, all built in one that you just get instantly replied to. It's insane.
You'd be surprised. Like even a couple of buddies of mine who are software developers have just used, I think it was like, I'm pretty sure it was Claude, and they just created these websites and released SaaS products because they know what they're doing. They could do it in under a weekend.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. It looks like something that VCs would spend millions of dollars on to release.
Totally. I think
it's literally just coded up in a weekend.
Follow your nose. You've got to spend the time, dedicate some time, just play around with it and just, follow what interests you. You can waste a fuckload of time if you don't know what you like doing on there. But, to a certain degree, that initial point is kind of required to figure out what even the potential is. But once you figure that out, it's pretty mind-blowing.
So a buddy of mine, actually a few of them, like we're just in chat, sending videos and stuff. I'm like, oh, listen to this podcast. They're like, yeah, I'll listen to it in 2 weeks. Just mucking around with OpenClaw. I'm like, Jesus. Like these guys are really getting into it. And yeah, I even month by month has changed so much from last month to this month. Imagine what it's going to be the month after. It's crazy. So I think it's like a doubling every month to 2 months of AI capability, which is, if you think that about that compounded over a year, that's just crazy.
That's wild. If you haven't played around with it for a little while, definitely do. And remember that AI is the dumbest it will ever be today. That's just a wild thing to think about.
Yeah, because we went away for our exec retreat and I saw what you were doing with Manus, even the slide creation or, the instructive things. And it was just absolutely incredible, man. It was very, very mind-blowing to the point where it's like, you need to be using this in your everyday life because it'll just make you so much more efficient in the things you're doing. You still need to be the leader and think about what you're doing and what you want to achieve, but you can do it so much faster with this tooling.
Totally agree. And from an asset allocation standpoint, yeah, AI and crypto, just it's not a tech story anymore, really. It's really about the economy potentially and where it's going, becoming increasingly automated, and those systems need those rails, and that's something always on, and that is crypto. That's blockchain. Yeah,
even the way you interact with it, like you have it set up in Telegram and you drop it a voice message. I think you set it up for your girlfriend as well.
Yeah.
Where you just do a voice message and it'll go away, run whatever it is, come back. I mean, in the future, you'll see stuff like you'll be on the beach and you'll just like message a channel and you'll be like, find a drone, go get a drink for me, a can of Coke, bring it to me and I'll pay you $5. Yeah, I'll put it in escrow right now. And a drone will go and get it. It'll bring it to you on the beach and then go do something else.
Yeah,
like these things are not far. Like you could code that up today, like honestly,
literally,
and you could do it. It won't be a full commercial model, and it won't work for everyone. But that is a reality today. You can do that.
Just another one, like as a personal finance thing. Like last night, every month, we do a review on our finances, export all of my, Amex transactions, run it into Claude Cowork, analyze the expenditure. I created a full, pie chart breakdown, clickable. I spent this, my girlfriend spent that. What our budget is, what's over, what's under. Automatically. It's like, it's insane. You could then voice prompt it to go, okay, now analyze this over my calendar and review where I've spent money based on, the time of the day, the locations I'm at, ensure that, my bills are paid for by plugging in your emails. And, that's where, like, that's already now. You can do that now. It's just, it's mind boggling where it's going, to be honest.
There There are a few SaaS companies that did that, where you upload your PDF and they break it down for you. And now the business model's kind of gone. Like, they need to make it ultra convenient if they still want people to pay for it, but your business model's just gone.
It's crazy. It's crazy. So stay patient, folks, in terms of the investment opportunity. It's not about chasing the narratives, because that's what's done people the wrong way, the last 12 months, especially in crypto. So ensure that the timing's right. Follow these areas. We're going to continue to cover it, obviously, for our members. If you're interested, you can check it out in the link below, where we continue to put our research on this piece. But yeah, it's a fascinating world, and we'll most likely be covering a lot more of it in the coming months.
Yeah, absolutely. And just a final thought. It's like when the internet was first kind of kicking off, everyone got into it and a lot of people lost a lot of money. So just be aware of things that are overcooked, overhyped, underbaked, don't quite deliver, and only invest small amounts, things that you can afford to do until you're really sure of a trend, like a directional kind of trend, and then kind of go for it. Because just look at previous history of new innovations and deep tech, and it'll give you a good history lesson. So don't go too hard, too early.
Totally agree. Thank you, folks. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Let us know what you think. You can reach out to us on Twitter, or just drop a comment if you're on YouTube. Let us know of AI, how you're using it, what investments you're looking at. We'd love to hear from you, as always. And please share it around with a friend or family member if you think it will be valuable for them. That's how we grow the podcast here each and every week. I'm Ben Bergs, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Thanks, champions.